Welcome to Overtime, the podcast. Overtime is a podcast dedicated to all things watches, particularly in the micro-brand and affordable range. I'm Praka, and this is my co-host, Justin.
We are two watch enthusiasts based out of Perth, Western Australia. Join us as we discuss our thoughts on new releases, share our personal experiences, and offer our insights on building a collection.
Whether you're a seasoned enthusiast or just starting your journey, Overtime will keep you entertained with informative insights and casual conversations.
Let's get started.
How you going, mate? How's your day been?
Pretty good for a Friday. Yourself?
Yeah, pretty good. You know, it's again another day off with the kids today, so yeah, it's been great. Sort of had some run-arounds in the park and saw some wildlife and stuff. But yeah, no, I had a good experience today with them. But I heard that you didn't have quite a great experience today with wildlife. What happened today with you?
Yeah, so as it's audio only, no one's going to be able to see it, but I've got a nice fat right eye. I got stung by a bee on my afternoon walk. So I was about 20 minutes from home. Just decided it was time for a break from the laptop and go get a coffee. And yeah, the bee, I seen it honed in on me from about 10 meters away and did the whole up, down. I was trying to dodge it, and then it just nailed me right in the face. But I finished tonight off with the new chocolate ice cream from Macca's, a McFlurry with M&Ms. I actually got extra M&Ms. I thought, today's a treat yourself. And nice. Yeah, it's definitely turned around my afternoon and evening for sure.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think it's been a night for ice cream as well. I did the same thing, finished up with some dumplings with the kids. And yeah, that's it, family. And yeah, and then we all went to the ice cream shop. It's called Billy Van Creamery, or Billy Van Creamery.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Have you heard of that?
Yeah, I've not been there, but I think I see adverts on Facebook and Instagram for it.
It's good. I think their specialty is all vegan ice creams. They do other ice creams too, but I know that kind of sounds like off-putting because some people might go, vegan is fine, but to be honestly, it's so good, and I prefer their vegan ice creams over their regular ice creams because they use coconut milk or something in it. So yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. Quick question on that: what's the go-to flavor for yourself?
The peanut butter chocolate chip.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice. I'll duck between Old English toffee or choc mint. Controversially. Love a choc mint.
Choc mint. Okay. Have you got the I think you might have to order the Studio Underdog choc mint to, pair that.
Yeah, I've got a purchase on the way this week already. I'm staying away from any more for a little while. But we'll chat about that when it comes in.
Sounds good. So I mean, before we get on with our episode today, what's on your wrist?
Today I did a mostly went out in the office for a little bit this morning, then I worked from home day, and I went with the Speedtimer today. So the Nightvision, all black. Still pretty heavily into this watch. It kind of haven't worn it consistently for an amount of days, but still gives me that kind of that butterfly feeling in the morning when I put it on, and when I get the pop in the sun behind my security screen door at home. Just pops, and still very, very happy with it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, I'm still yet to see it in the flesh, but I've seen, I think we spoke about this before, just that case is just so well done. And DLC coating. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, massive ticks. What about yourself? What did you go with today?
Actually, I've done a switcheroo. So I've wore something in the afternoon and wearing something in the evening when I went out to dinner with the family and ice creams. So during the day, I had my Seiko Turtle on, just wears so beautifully. So you just want to wear it, and it doesn't feel like you're wearing much, even though it's it's not a titanium watch, but it still just wears beautifully. So I had that on for most of the day when I was in the park and stuff. But in the evening when I went out with dinner with the wives and the kids, I had my SPB143 on, which is the previous 62 mass reiteration. So not the one that we spoke about, but yes, it's my beloved and my favorite watch in my whole collection for more than one reason.
Yeah, and a very good way to dress up a diver for sure when going out. There's actually one for sale on Marketplace in Perth at the moment.
Is it? Okay.
1,200, I think it was at.
That's not bad at all. That's
not a bad price.
Yeah,
It's actually from a shop we've been speaking about recently in Morley too.
Okay.
So
Okay. Well, for all our WA listeners, yeah, maybe something to watch out for. All right, cool. Well, I guess let's get on with today's episode. Hey, we've got a couple of things to talk about. I guess the first topic of the day is a study, actually, funnily enough. Yeah, so it's a study, and it was a study that was done in 2015 by two researchers from the Department of Psychology in Lancaster University in the UK. And basically, the study concluded that there was a significantly higher levels of conscientiousness were observed in the participants who wore a watch.
interesting topic, extremely interesting topic. I've got some points on this one, but I guess first of all, let's touch on what conscientiousness is. So basically, I'm going to stumble that word all the time. I struggle with big words. Anyway, so it's a personality trait, basically, and it's the quality of wishing to do one's work or duty well and thoroughly. So I look at this from a few different angles here. I think of immediately I go to work, like work duties, work life, and then being a parent and all the kind of other stuff that falls in between it. And I think in my professional career and whatnot, I consider myself quite thorough and meet all my targets, do as much as I can to do well for my business. But when I think of myself, not as a parent, but when I think of doing the washing or doing the mopping, it's definitely on the back burner. So I'm very conflicted with this. Not the research itself or anything. I do agree with some things, but I'm conflicted with the idea of labeling it. Labeling it as one big thing. What about yourself? What's your thoughts immediately?
Yeah, I mean, immediately, I think very similar. There's some parts of my life where I do see myself as, going through things well and thoroughly, and, things to do with my family and things like that. Of course, it's my number one priority, and work as well. I always want to make sure I get my job done well and properly, and, that's my aim. And, but yeah, like you say, some things you just don't quite get to, whether that be, like you say, washing. I actually like washing the dishes, funnily enough. Was such a weird thing, but stuff like, I need to clear up a space, and, I've got to, there's a lot of back burner stuff at the moment, DIY stuff in the house. So yeah, no, I get what you mean, but it is a very interesting thing to conclude. So I guess let's have a little bit of a deep dive into the study, shall we? And actually let's have a a bit more what they actually spoke about. So basically, there's 5 different personality traits that they compared. So conscientiousness was one of them, but there was extroversion, agreeableness, emotional stability, and openness to experiences. So basically, these 5 personality traits are like I think it's a very much a psychology thing, and it's it's known as the big 5 personality traits. I'm not a psychologist. I don't pretend to be, but I guess it makes sense. It makes sense. Like there are these things that they look at as personality traits. So yeah, and what I can see is that they did 3 different tests. I'm not sure exactly how they concluded the test, but they did these 3 different tests, and from this test they somehow found out that the conscientiousness value, or the questions that they asked to ascertain conscientiousness, the N+1, or I'm not sure what exactly what they call it by statistics, but the statistics wise, it always was an outlier that people who wore watches were more conscientious than the others. So yeah, I thought it was quite an interesting topic to talk about, and I wanted to know whether, in your experience wearing a watch, do you feel like, a person that, always wear a watch, do you feel like you are more conscientiousness than someone who may not wear a watch?
No, personally, not at all. And the only reason is because I don't know if it's vain or not, but I am wearing it solely for I guess the addiction that we all have. If you listen to this, I guess that's what it is. I like the watch itself. I like being able to tell the time, even though I want to say 9 times out of 10, I probably just check the iPhone to check the time or look down at the computer screen that I'm currently working on to know what the time is. But yeah, it's I don't know. One thing I thought was interesting is growing up as a teenager and like looking up towards my grandfather and stuff, you kind of relate. Let's just say, the Rolex I'd say is one of the most talked about watches as that milestone piece. You get that at a certain, whether it's promotion or 30th birthday or younger, whatever it is. I always kind of related that kind of wearing experience to success, which I think maybe now as an 15 years older than then, maybe is more towards conscientiousness. It's not. It's a bigger picture than just what I thought it was, but I thought that was something that was really interesting in my brain, my different perspective over time in what that watch wearing looked like from start to finish. But yeah, personally, I'm not more conscious than anyone else. I actually agree with you on the dishes thing, though. I enjoy doing the dishes, but doing washing and hanging up toddler clothes 10 times a week. Actually, last week with gastro 20 times. I was definitely not conscious last week. But yeah, that's kind of my opinion. What about yourself?
Yeah. Look, I think I'm very much the same. I do agree. I mean, one of the things that they have said in the study was that wearing a watch appears to be like a social marker for an individual who's likely to be more conscientious. And they're saying that because they're behaving in ways such as one thing, for example, was arriving at an appointment earlier than non-watch wearers. Now, this study was done in 2015. Maybe if this study was done in 1985 or 1990,
yeah, exactly,
I would have said, you know what, that actually makes a lot of sense, because I can almost attribute that thing. But everyone has phones now. Everyone, has alarms. Everyone has stuff that's going on. I don't feel like wearing a watch necessarily means that you have the nuance or whatever to arrive at an appointment earlier than non-watch wearers. In fact, I wear watches all the time, and I'll be honest, if I ask my family, ask my friends, I'm not exactly known for my, on bang on time.
Yeah.
It's a little known disease known as IST. It's called Indian Standard Timing.
Anyway, no.
we won't go into that. I'm not as bad now as I used to be. I used to be pretty bad, but yeah. Anyway, I mean, that's my 2 cents there. I don't know. Do you think the same?
I think you've hit the nail on the head with go back in time, and 100% you could definitely attribute this study. It applies there. But the way, I had a doctor's appointment last week, and I book it through telehealth on my iPhone, and it automatically hooks up to the calendar, and I get a notification that morning. I get a text message that morning, and then the prompted notifications before. That's the reason I'm there. That's the reason it works into my day. It's scheduled into my calendar for my work as well, so I plan my meetings around it. I'm not going to attribute that to looking at the little date window of the watch and going, today is the doctor's appointment and it is at this time. Not at all. But also, I don't know what year you might know. When was smartwatch or Apple Watch, those kind of things released? Because I think it kind of counters the argument here as well. Because I've tried the Apple Watch and I found it so much more distracting and hard to wear. But I know people personally who wear one and kind of rave about how good it is to have the emails come through and the texts come through, but when I was wearing it, having it buzz every 2 seconds and having to take my hand away from the keyboard and look at it, and then you find yourself scrolling the little screen instead of looking at it on your phone or laptop, I'd kind of find it the other way. I think it's less conscious. You kind of get lost in that tech world with the Apple Watch on your wrist.
No, I see what you're saying. I don't have a smartwatch. I've never really had one myself. And, and having a distraction. I mean, I can tell you, I've sat with people in meetings and even just having a chat with them, and they're just looking down on their wrist every few minutes like this. And you're just like, man, am I having a conversation with you, or are you having a conversation with your phone? I mean, with your wrist. So I actually feel like it's almost more, more distracting. So I'm just going to circle back to your question. You said, hey, when did smartwatches still, when did they first start? Well, let me tell you. So again, I'm not making this up. This is coming from, got some sort of, so basically the first, I guess, sort of smartwatches, or, they sort of came from the, your digital watches, right? That's where they sort of evolved in. So there were watches that had data that you could actually connect it up to data and keyboards and things like that. So I think there was one called the RC series, which is from Seiko in
Okay.
1984. So,
Oh, geez. Okay.
yeah, so
Interesting.
they had memory in it. So the memory was not a lot. So it was able to store, it had the ability to store 2,000 characters, and his memory is tiny, only had 112 digits. So again, but these are the kind of things, right, that formed a pathway. So it had, computer chip in it, and then slowly, it had, check this out. It could provide 2 kilobytes of storage.
Oh, now we're cooking with gas. Jeez.
We're coming a long way, right?
Wow.
But yeah, so there you go. So, and then obviously then Casio did their stuff. They had calculator watches, and then Timex did stuff as well.
I guess that does count. Yeah, when you think about the calculator, like, actually, I had one of them in high school at one point, and I guess that was a more distracting part of my school life, being able to write a certain rude word on the calculator watch and stare at it and show your friends from across the room. But going back to one of your points there, you said, someone will sit there and look at the Apple Watch and keep checking. Oh, again, just to play devil's advocate a little, I'd be guilty of that, sitting on, one of my offices at the 14th floor where there's a bit of good sunlight, constantly checking the speed timer on the wrist. I'd do the same thing there. I'm not going to deny that.
Yeah, but do you do that when you're having a chat with someone though?
Not when I'm chatting, no. But
Exactly.
some of my work friends would think I have a mental illness when I walk over and take a wrist shot and then take another 15 to make sure it's the right one in the right light. So maybe not as conscientious as we think.
Maybe not. All right. Well, there was another thing that they also concluded in this study, right? And basically it said something like wearing a device that tells the time on the wrist is likely to remain an important tool for the foreseeable future. And to our knowledge, this is the first study to demonstrate a link between watch wearing, personality, and related behavior. I mean, I think I agree with that, at least partially. And would you say the same? Would you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, I'd agree with that. I got a work friend who has worn the same watch his entire, or my entire existence in the company, 10 years. They have one watch. It's a Seiko as well. It's a diver on a NATO, and he's he's definitely not in the podcast realm. He's not going to be listening to this at all. But he told me, keep the collection. You got to keep them all, because one day when the government takes over, you're going to have to, trade these for important goods, because people are going to need to know how to tell the time, and your solar stuff is going to be the way of the future and all this. I'm like, oh, some people really deep this sort of stuff. It goes deeper than we think.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's a little bit.
Yeah.
A bit off topic.
All the way to the other side, but yeah.
No, nice one. Yeah. Look, I would say the same, Luna. Like, even though we wear our watches very differently, we wear it as aesthetic choices, and yes, we appreciate that it's a timekeeping device, and really, how we put it on the wrist, how it feels on our wrists, and and the connection that it gives to us. I think it's still, even though yes, we're not looking, it's not an important tool for timekeeping or to watch, to look at what the time is, but it's still an important tool regardless. Like,
yeah. No, I think it'll be something that sticks around for many, many, many years.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, that was topic 1 of the day, and now let's move on to the next topic. Justin.
Yeah, so maybe a little bit late to the party on this one, but we're going to chat about Onlywatch today. So for those who are listening and don't know what Onlywatch is, it's a fundraiser that's held every 2 years to raise funds for research on, I've tried to pronounce that first word many times, but I'm going to say it's DMD. I don't know if you want to have a crack at that one, Praka.
Yeah, I believe it's a Duchenne muscular dystrophy. So, I think I'm saying it correctly. I apologize if I'm not.
Yeah.
So, so DMD, I'll just keep the abbreviated form. So it's a chronic disorder that affects around 1 in 3,500 boys, which is a staggering number. And just, I couldn't believe that I didn't know what it was before I got introduced, I guess, via the watch community, that unfortunately is a disease that doesn't really have much cures. So the money raised from auctioning off these sort of one-off timepieces that are made for these events goes towards, like, really needed medical research and scientific grants and things like that. So yeah, it's one of those things where, like, I've got two boys, you've got a boy as well. I think, yeah, it's really scary to seeing that things like this exist out there, and even more scary to think that there is diseases that they just don't have any cures at the moment. So yeah, I think hats off to these guys to really putting in the effort, I guess, into something which is
Yeah, and I think what I like about this is that the watch collecting hobby and space can seem a bit elitist and unnecessary at times, at the higher end of some of these price range. And it's cool to see that we can include a very noble and well thought out cause into the hobby.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, that's something that that sort of plays in my mind sometimes as well, when I do see a lot of these figures for some of these watches and go, geez, this is so extravagant, so unnecessary. But then, you see things like this and you go, hey, okay, maybe, yes, there's a lot of money involved in this sort of hobby, but there are also a lot of good people as well. So yeah, it's good to see. All right. Well, now we've introduced the topic. And so basically there was a bunch of watches. I think correct me if I'm wrong, there's about 60.
It's a lot. It's
about 60 something watches that was released to be auctioned off. So how it works basically is that it's an auction, and a bunch of brands come in and give piece uniques, or one-off pieces that they allow. They basically put up for auction, and all the proceeds goes towards this foundation. And I think, again, I think it's about 60 something. So look, we've obviously looked at 62. There you go. 62. So we've had a look, and we thought we'll pick some watches that is unique to us, what we want to talk about. So yeah, let's kick it off, Justin, with the Bulgari. Tell us about the Bulgari.
Yeah. So this is one of the ones that really stood out to me. And when I'd seen the picture of it, I was like, okay, it's obviously some sort of PVD coating. And then when I read that it's actually made of marble, and the process went through my head of like the Octo Finissimo is such a thin and articulated to the wrist watch. I actually had some process time there, being like, how have they done this? This is unreal. And for anyone who's not had a look yet, the link is going to be in the show notes, but it is a green marble. So I guess marble bench tops would be the easiest way to kind of compare it. But it is like a emeraldy, foresty kind of green with a gold handset and gold indices. And I think it's a gold crown as well. But I could never see myself wearing this. That's something I couldn't, even most of my daily wearing of clothes is black hoodies and jeans. Like this should just be such a standout thing. And I don't know if you ever fell off or you damaged it. I would hate to think of what happens, but yeah, I think it's amazing. It's such an incredible feat of innovation here. What about your thoughts?
Yeah, I think, look, it's an art piece, isn't it? It's a high horology at its finest kind of thing. It's it's a titanium case that's been coated with this green marble, and it's got 110 facets. I don't even, I'm guessing if it's something like diamonds, you've got all these sort of cuts and facets and stuff.
Yeah.
And I've seen the Octo Finissimo quite close up in when I was transiting through Qatar, and it was, I wish I actually threw it on, but it was just incredible looking watch, and how thin it was and everything. And this is just, let's just take that incredible piece of engineering and just make it a whole lot crazier. That's
a whole different material, crazy,
and it's tourbillon as well.
Yeah, just another level.
Oh my God. Yeah, this is just wild. And look, let's just have a quick look at the dimensions here. So
nuts. Yeah.
Can you just read how thick that is?
Yeah. So I'm going to quickly rub my eyes. 1.95 millimeters thick, which is crazy.
That's the caliber.
Absolutely insane.
That's the
It's just the caliber.
right?
Oh, okay. All right.
It's the caliber. Yeah.
Gotcha.
No, it's still crazy though. To have
Okay, there we go.
1.95 millimeter thick caliber is
Yep.
still nuts. And then you've coated this thing with marble. I mean, think of a marble benchtop and still look at the thickness there. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
6.9.
Yeah.
That's it.
Insane.
Yeah, it's insane's the word for it. And yeah, it just oozes. This is so not me. This is a gold and green and marble. It is so, but and obviously this is a let's look at the estimate here. So for each of these watches, they've put in an estimate of how much they reckon it should start bidding, or at least close to. And what is that there? It is Swiss francs, between 150,000 to 250,000 Swiss francs. So I think even if we wanted one, yeah.
What I'm just give me 1 second. I'm going to have a look at the conversion there, because I assume it is stupid high for that. Yep, 253,776 Aussie dollars is the 150
starting bid potentially.
Yeah, that's unreal.
Yeah, unreal indeed. But hey, look, this is something that's been developed purely for this amazing event, and it's an experience. It's an art piece. And I think most of these watches in Onlywatch, I doubt many people would actually wear them around. It's more of like, hey, we're going to display the art piece, just like you're to buy a piece of art. Yeah,
this deserves to like sit on a shelf in a box in like your living room, because even the box there, like you look at the lid of the box with Bulgari printed on the top in the gold. It's it's stunning. Like I actually really like this. Besides not seeing myself ever wearing anything like this, I really like this
for sure. And as much as we all about affordable watches and micro brand watches, sometimes, like we said, you just have to look up and see what's out there, and you never know. Someday it might creep down into this space, and we've seen it go the other way, as we discussed before.
Definitely.
So it's always good to see. Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, one more point on this. Off the top of your head, have you seen anything else like this in your experience in watch collecting? Is in like the kind of it doesn't have to be marble itself, but maybe imitated that way?
Wow. No.
Yeah, I think it's very one-off.
I'm really struggling to see anything that looks anything like this, or even just nothing. Yeah, and really is a piece unique. Really is.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
And the cool thing is, I think they've drawn inspiration in Roman architecture, which is who was this? So in Rome's history and glory, they had marble, all over. It's very romantic, the story and the Italian connection, of course, and fantastic, cool.
Yeah,
all right,
this is cool.
That is awesome. Shall we move on to the next one?
Yep, I'll let you fire off with this one.
Awesome. So this one here is from one of our it feels like one of our brands, but it's an affordable, it's a micro brand, it's Baltic. So Baltic, this is their second time participating in Onlywatch, is my understanding, and they've sort of spun off the Baltic brand, and they called this brand called Baltic Experiments. So basically, they've teamed up with some various watchmakers that are quite, I guess, they do some unique movements, and they do some really sort of high end stuff. And they've come up with this perpetual calendar piece, and it's in this stunning purple dial. Again, another piece which is like absolutely wow. This is obviously a different level to the Bulgari, but still fantastic. What do you reckon about this, man?
My first thought is take my money, just take it, send it here. I'll come there and pick it up on my own expense. But yeah, this thing is so gorgeous. Immediately my honest thought was I'm not going to say they've looked at Tag, but I want to say this looks like what Tag is trying to achieve with their Carrera asphalt kind of dial image, but they're just not hitting the nail on the head. And I think they've not taken inspiration from it or anything, but I think they've just nailed what Tag are trying to achieve, in my opinion. Everything about this is stunning. The moon phase is so simple, but perfect. It's gorgeous. And I would kill to get that bracelet to have a crack with. It looks so comfortable.
It looks like a python skin or
Snake
something.
skin, yeah. It just
Yeah,
looks, everything about it is stunning.
yeah. It's very medieval.
Hmm.
It's like it's mesh, but not right. It's like a snake mesh skin, and yeah. I mean, just looking. I'm just going back to the dial. I mean, it's like a pebbly dial. I haven't actually not really sure about the reference of the tag, so I need to do a bit of a deep dive on that later on. But I'll take your word for it, and it just looks really different. And it's 37 mil titanium case. Yeah, it's just bang on the now the trends now, which is smaller watches, trying
Hmm.
different materials. However, they've also stuck this incredible perpetual calendar yeah into this movement. It's crazy.
Yeah, and when you really look at the dial, there's so much texture going on. Just except from that pebble asphalty textured dial, like the sub dials, the two top sub dials are their own thing, and then the bottom one is this really smooth, deep,
Yeah,
very royal purple. And as it
yeah,
goes up to those other ones, getting more of a sunburst effect up the top, which really plays into that moon phase feature down the bottom. There's no sunburst in that; it's just deep royal.
yeah.
Then you've got the chapter ring inside there as well. It's just, yeah, 10 out of 10.
Yeah, the sort of circular brush on that
Yeah,
chapter ring, and then it's sort of broken up by the vertical brushing on the bezel. I really like the vertical brushing in the bezel. Funny enough, it reminds me of my Astor and Banks.
yeah,
Obviously,
definitely.
different levels to it, but it's it's a very similar design cue, and just looking a bit more into the movement itself. It's done. They developed this perpetual calendar movement by themselves. That they got the right people in and they made themselves. And this is no small feat. I mean, we're talking about a micro brand
Hmm.
that started not too long ago, a couple of years, if I'm correct. It's only been like 6 years, maybe, if not. And it's wild that they're going out there making their own movements. I think this is harks back to what we've spoken to before, when we said, hey, will micro brands one day start making their own movements? Look at
Yeah,
what they're doing. Yeah, look at what they're doing.
and this is just so much beyond its own movement. Like this is innovation from the top up. Like this is very different to a lot of other things that are on this list, let alone what's out there elsewhere. Like I've recently had experience with just a basic Milanese mesh, but I can't recall seeing this style mesh before. I think one thing that I would personally would like to see on this was like if you look at the lugs, how polished they are. I think if this bracelet was highly polished, opposed to being a little bit brushed, I
Mm.
think it would be an absolute pop. But it might be a little too much, a little bit too much. But just yeah, a little personal thought.
Yeah, yeah. I'll be curious to know what grade of titanium is the case on this. It just says steel and titanium mid case, so I think it's a
Yeah,
mixture of both. That's probably why you have the two different colors. I would
yeah.
say, it's probably why it looks like maybe it is. It probably is. So definitely is mixture of brushed and polished, as you can see. But I'll just be curious to see the split between the titanium and the steel.
Mm.
Very interesting. Normally, you would be all titanium and all steel. So very interesting indeed.
Yeah, and this is I'm going to say we'll say the estimate is between 20 to 30,000 Swiss francs, and which I think we'll say the starting bid maybe 20,000 is
Yeah.
$33,837 in Australian,
Mm,
which yeah, crazy for Baltic. You think Baltic? That's not the number you think of.
definitely not. Yeah, just a little bit more expensive than their HMSO ones or
Yeah.
but hey, look, if this is what they want to do, as they want to experiment in the sort of high end, but also do stuff in, sort of reminds me of Christopher Ward, not a different, obviously a different level, but having the Bel Canto as their
Hmm.
sort of their experimental one where they really worked with some more high end people and to have a chiming movement. It sort of gives me that vibes. But obviously this is another level because they're doing their own movement.
Yeah, and I think my biggest takeaway from this watch itself is I know in the past we've seen these only watch start to trickle down into different forms and variants into
Mm,
brands, and it would be real cool to see this come down to a different level. Change it up, make it different, so it still
for
stands
sure.
out and becomes its own pedestal piece. But it would be awesome to see this trickle down into a different form.
For sure. Yeah, like probably not perpetual calendar, but maybe you'll have this similar sort of layout with the moon phase and have like a simple, still with the pointed date and everything else. Just I reckon definitely would be nice to see this, a variant of this, as part of their new offering. Baltic, if you're hearing, do it.
Just chuck a quartz movement in this and flick it out.
Yeah,
give us the quartz version. I'm stoked.
I feel like even if it's quartz, it's going to be pretty pricey.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, on from one complication to another complication to many complications. All right. So this is the final watch that we wanted to talk about today, from the Onlywatch 2023. Okay, so this is a piece unique by a Russian watchmaker. His name is Konstantin Chaikin. Tell us about this watch, Justin.
Where do you want me to start? That's the question. Like, where do you start with this thing? For the listeners, like when you're looking at the watch itself, what's the when you look at a watch, what's the purpose? You're checking the time. I don't even know where to look here. It's just aesthetically, definitely not my thing aesthetically, but in terms of horology and innovation and what it is, it's got me hooked. So I guess the way I describe it is it's in a league of its own. Just start off with it's in its own thing. I don't think I've seen anything like this before. It's got 16 complications to it. It's a wristwatch. It goes on your hand. It's got 16 different complications. Insane. And on top of that, it's double-sided with a reversible design to it, which, again, mind blown. I've looked at this many times and I've read the little article and the specs and whatnot, and I still can't figure out what on earth I feel about it. It's odd. What are your thoughts?
I mean, so I've heard of Konstantin Chaikin before. I have seen his Joker watch. I think so. There's Scottish watches. They seem to talk about this watch quite a bit. I think one of the fellows have it. And I've seen that watch before, and I think, wow, this is out there. It's pretty great. Not me, but I can appreciate the horology side of things. In some way, it has a sort of a funny Joker look to this. I don't know if you can see. It's got the eyes and the nose and the face, and the other side, flip side, just looks a bit, I don't know, it sort of looks very industrial, with the with the lugs, and it's so far away from the two that we've seen before, which is very beautiful, very elegant, very, like high horology is elegant, right? This almost feels so industrial. It's got this cuts on the bezel. It's got it's got screws all over around. It's so out there, and I mean that's my first initial look at things, and it just has, obviously it's got the 16 complications, and normally you see a lot of watches that has so many complications being more elegant pieces, don't you think?
Yep, definitely.
It just doesn't, in my head, it doesn't work, but also works really well.
And what I love about this, the main standout for me is he stayed very true to his design. Like you said, the Joker's still in there. You still see that smiley face. And reading the spec sheet without seeing the watch, you would think there's no way that you're going to keep that kind of very unique design motif that they are known for. And here he is. But I don't know, should we run through the list of complications here? Because it's very long, but I think, it's definitely...
you pick three, I'll pick three.
All right. So I guess, three that stand out to me is actually, it's not a complication, but the first thing I want to mention is it's got these reversible lugs. So reversible strap with reversible buckles. So you just unclip, clip back in, and you're wearing a different watch on the other side. 2 crowns, again, absolutely mind-boggling, but it's really doing the inner symmetry nut for me right now. But continuous moon phase is a big standout, along with 8-stage. What's the do you know that word? I'm gonna
discrete moon phase.
Is it discrete? Yeah, it's written in this weird chalk. It is, another moon phase. And one thing that blew my mind was we've got zodiacs there as well, which is just zodiac signs are in your watch.
Yeah.
Welcome to 2023.
Welcome to 2023. Honestly, I was gonna say Zodiac was my number one thing to being
Yeah.
like, that's nuts. And it's also got the retrograde day of the week. So I don't know. I mean, look, I don't really know too much about this, but what I do know is that there's a lot of things out there about retrograde moon and zodiac signs and things like that in dating. Maybe this is a watch for someone that wants to do that. But it's just, I mean, yeah, that, you know, along with those two movements, you know, something else is, you know, they've got a celestial charts, which is,
Yep.
you know, another astronomical sort of thing, and then the solar activity cycle. So it's telling you where the, you know, what's happening in the sun, like all the different, there's this, what do you call, obviously tourbillon, and there's also the, what else you've got there? Obviously it tells you the time, the minutes, the
Yeah.
hours,
Somewhere in there, it tells you the time.
yeah, somewhere in there. And yeah, it's just madness is my one word for this watch. Madness, and not in a bad way. I think madness in a good way.
Yep.
Yeah.
This if you're the purchaser of this piece, you are getting exactly what you want from Onlywatch. That's
Yeah.
This is one of a kind. It's unreal.
Yeah.
It's the
For
tool of
sure.
all tools.
Yeah. It is. And again, I would, much like the Bulgaria, although it's so different, it's one of those ones that you just put it in the you just put it in the box, wouldn't you? You just look at it. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe an unpopular opinion on this, which I'm interested to see if you agree.
Mm.
Like from first glance to a random on the street, let's say you had this on your wrist, you're walking through the shops, it looks like one of your cheap fashion brand watches that try to do a crappy skeleton attempt.
Yeah.
That's what you kind of see from afar, and you'd have no idea what on earth someone is wearing here,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
how I appreciate it. It's just so underrated and
Yeah.
under the cuff.
Yeah, I think, yeah, like you're so right. Like I think for a common man, you know, a person who's don't really know about watches, which is most people, we are in the minority. You
Yep.
know, people look and go, "Oh, that's a cool Rolex," or "Well, it's a cool Omega," or something. But something like this, no one would have any idea what it is, right?
Yeah, boy, did I feel like a common man when I was reading this. Hey, I was like, I didn't know half this stuff could be a feature. I consider myself a little bit knowledgeable somewhat these days, but had no idea you could cram this much into a watch.
Yeah,
Unreal.
well, unreal indeed. And I think we'll leave it there for Only Watch. But yeah, I mean, just to wrap up, Only Watch is awesome event, and you know, to the people that are going to be there at the auction and bidding on the stuff, good luck, and hope you guys win what you want, and hope you raise the vital funds required for this much needed medical research.
Definitely.
Cool. All right. Well, I think we'll move on to our something interesting section of the podcast, as we always do. Justin, you're up first, mate.
Yeah,
What do you think today?
so we're recording on a Friday, different day, and I think it was last night around midnight. The Tag Heuer released a first ever re-edition of the original Tag Heuer Skipper. I had no idea this watch existed in its catalog at all. I think Tag is probably one of the brands that has quite an extensive back catalog that I haven't really delved too far into. I really like the re-edition. I'm curious to get your thoughts on it, because we've had a couple of discussions around some modern tags, not on the podcast, but in our own conversations. What are your initial thoughts on this based on looks?
Yeah, I mean, look, I love what they're doing in this sort of reissues. I think, look, reissues for most parts, if they do it well, it's gonna be fire. Just because, you know, I think the older aesthetic is, for me anyway, I find the older Hoyas, you know, models, the Hoya Octavias, Hoya Carreras, they just are classic. You know, they're ooze class, and they just look fantastic. They're timeless, is what I'm trying to say.
Yep.
And I'll be honest, like Tag as a brand, Tag Heuer as a brand in the 90s and 2000s, and even really now, it just doesn't appeal to me, because I just don't like that sort of style. But this is just, yeah, this is awesome. And I think prior to this, they released I've seen like a Panda dial Carrera
Yep.
Octavia. Was it, sorry, an Octavia, I think.
Yep.
And I've been, yeah, ever since I saw that, I was like, I somehow need to get this. I see the RRP and then I sort of go, okay, maybe not. But, it is beautiful. My first impressions, like just aesthetically, it looks so good. Yeah.
I like that it's stayed faithful to the original as well. It is
Yep.
quite on the money. Like it's got its changes, but they're still a nod to the past, which I like. They haven't gone too overboard, which I think Tag's pretty well known for doing in some aspects. But yeah, I think I'm really impressed. Like Tag's such a weird brand these days. Like they're doing so much good in one area and then just swinging so far the other way
Yep.
with some other stuff. But yeah, in terms of the price point, I think it's 9,800 AUD,
Yeah.
which you're looking at speedy territory. And we had this conversation the other day just about
We
other
did.
Carreras.
Yep.
You're up in speedy territory there. There's a lot of watch can be bought at that price point. I just don't know if bringing back this particular version brings someone into Tag Heuer at that category that might not have been there before.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think you're bang on right. And yes, we have been discussing about the retail prices of tags. Look, I don't have experience sort of buying tags. So this is for a couple of days ago, I was at a AD that had a tag and I decided that I would try it on. It was actually, it was a Carrera chronograph, black dial. I don't know exactly what the model was, but yeah, I think the RRP was 8,600 and it was nothing that special. And I'll be honest, if you told me that was a fashion watch, I'll probably say, yeah, it looked all right. And and I know that sounds terrible, and I don't mean it in a bad way, but it wasn't really anything that stood out to me and say, hey, this retail price, sticker price looks like what it should be. But I guess you can say that for a lot of brands. Seiko does that, and even this, right? Yes, the sticker price seems exorbitant, but it does, I guess, have heritage. It does have that sort of design cues that they've carried forward since the Heuer reference 7754, which is sort of the original. So they've really, they have taken it and they've brought it up. So that's my take on the pricing of things. What about yourself?
Yeah, well, I guess before I touch on price, I'm going to link an article in the show notes as well that I was reading about the new movement compared to the Heuer 02 movement, where I can't remember who wrote it, but I've got it saved, where the article came from, but it was the most confusing article of someone saying the Heuer 02 was this amazing feat of horology and innovation, all these other words, but then moving over to this new TH, what is it, 2020 or something movement, moving over to there, it was this one's so much better, but they couldn't explain why because all the specs are pretty similar. So I'll link that article because it was an interesting read, but not for the right reasons. But in terms of price, if you gave me 10K right now to run out and spend, I had to spend it on a watch at that price point. This isn't it. And there's, you can think speedy as well. That would be where my mind would wander if we're having to buy a chronograph. But beyond the big chronos in these brands, there's so much more out there for 10 grand. I just don't think it hits in the way that price point says.
For sure. And I think, even if you are enthusiast, like a yachting enthusiast or something, where I guess this is what they're trying to sort of get you to. And, I think that was the Tissot Citadel that came out not too long ago. It was just, and then you got yacht timers. You've, I think it's are Breitlings associated with sailing or they're more aviation? Probably aviation.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's many chronographs out there which for 10K you can get a lot of watch. So would I spend it on this? I'm not sure. Yeah,
I guess a little bit of an inside to the NWA that I've got coming in. That's a take on a different yacht racer type style watch, and I'm way more excited for the colorway, case design, and the overall feel of that for an under $500 price point compared to going out and spending nearly 10 grand on a Carrera that's been given the colorway of something in the past. There's not a lot of innovation with this. It's not a copy and paste. There's definitely some thought into it, but it's just not the standout.
Yeah. For sure. I think yeah, I'm so excited for this NWA listeners as well. I hope I'm really looking forward to hearing about this on the show and seeing it in real life. But yeah, I mean, look, it does what it's supposed to do, and it has that link to the historical model. So yeah, maybe it's worth the money that they're asking for it. But yeah, not really for me, I would say.
Yeah, and this watch was a big chat in our Red Bar last night
Yes.
into this morning here in WA. So if anyone from Red Bar is going to listen and is actually going to purchase this, reach out to myself or Praka on Instagram for a chat, because I'd love to hear the thoughts on it.
Yeah, for sure. I think there was 3 being
Yeah.
released in WA or
Yep.
something. So not a lot. So, but to be honest, if anyone's gonna have them, it's someone from our Red Buck group, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, awesome. All right, well, that's a fantastic something interesting for the week. My something interesting for the week is okay. So basically, it stems from today I was out and sort of dude wearing a Rolex hat today, and it sort of just got me thinking, like like brand swag. Would is that something that I would do? I mean, personally, I haven't done it so far. I haven't worn any sort of brand swag. But I don't know. Would you wear something? Say if you were given some brand swag?
So when you type this into the show, like the notes to read off, it
Yeah.
really got me thinking, because in terms of watches, no. So going back to Tag, I've got a Tag hat that I picked up from an AD a
Mm.
number of years ago, and it's still sitting in my wardrobe unworn. I've still got the little cardboard thing in the top, and it's going to stay that way forever. But I compare this to nowadays, especially Rolex being the
Yeah.
hype beast it is. I don't shy away from a Supreme hoodie or something like
True.
that. And I think it's an interesting topic now, that two worlds have collided in terms of fashion hype, and now Rolex being the way it is because of social media and the kind of influencer space. But I don't shy away from some of the higher end clothes, and a couple, like I've got some Louis Vuitton wallets and sunglasses. I love
True.
that sort of stuff. But in terms of wearing a Rolex hat, I just couldn't see myself doing it.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm very much the same as well. Again, am I being I don't know, a bit funny or whatever? But yeah, same thing. I've got some. I haven't bought a Nomos watch before, but at one point I was really thinking about it, and I ordered the catalog online, and it was awesome. Nomos sent me a catalog. They sent me a notebook, a notepad, and it was just beautifully done. And to be honest, I have used that notepad before because that was something functional.
Yep.
I had it and I was like, yeah, I can use this. I suppose you can say a hat's functional too, but I don't know if I don't know if I can get myself to wear I guess a Seiko hat or a
Mm.
Rolex hat or a Patek Philippe. I don't know. If you're wearing a Patek Philippe hat, and it probably screams, yeah, rob me. So probably don't do that.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe in Perth you'll get away with it, but there's definitely
True.
places in the world you wouldn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like I've received a diary from a tag again when I had my phase of Tag Heuer, and I've
Mm.
still use that today. It's on the shelf sitting behind me that you can see, but no one else can. But
Yeah.
stuff like that's quite cool to have. But you've got kind of throwing me back to a bit of a memory here that's just popped into my brain. So I think
Yeah.
it was 20. It must be around the 14, 15, 16. I flew over to Phillip Island to watch the MotoGP
Yes.
a number of years ago. And I believe that's Tissot from memory.
Yeah.
And someone there that they were giving out shirts, hats, everything you can think of. There was even like sweat towels and stuff, I think, from memory. And there was someone there who managed to get a hat that had Tissot plastered across the front. And we stayed on the island itself and seen him multiple times. And yeah, he wore it nonstop. So maybe there's a story behind the guy who had it, and
Yeah.
he might have got that through the tennis or something. Who knows?
You're
But
right. You're right. Yeah, I was being maybe I'm just quick to judge, and you're right. Maybe it's a tennis. Maybe it's just a big tennis guy, and he's got that affiliated through there. But I wasn't wasn't trying to be like, oh
no,
yeah, I
no.
would do this. But it was just interesting to see. Like it was just something out of the blue, and again, not really something you'd see in Perth, right? Someone wearing watch gear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. Like, either way, it doesn't matter what his mindset is, but we're talking about it. He might have got the effect that he wants with someone talking about it, or he could be just flying under the radar with a hat that he picked up a number of years ago. Who knows? But it's cool to kind of see in the wild.
Yeah, for sure. And so we really, I think the question that we'll put in this episode in Spotify in the sort of Q&A session is, would you guys wear brand swag? I'd be really interested to know what percentage of our viewers would say, listeners, sorry, would be like, yeah, I will wear brand swag. Why wouldn't you? Or the other way around. So yeah, definitely.
And on the back of that, I'd love to know where you draw the line. Like where, like if you'd wear Seiko, Tissot, that type of stuff, would you continue into Rolex? Like I'm curious. You've sparked an interest in my head here.
Okay. Are you talking like personally me? You want my answer now? You're the
I'll get yours as well. Go for it. This is everyone. This is something that's never entered my head before.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've seen watches. I've seen T-shirts with sort of Vostok Amphibia stuff on it because I know Zizou, that movie with is it Steve? What's his name? I'm sorry, listeners, if you know what this is and I don't, and I've just Steve Zissou, that's it. So that's it. So there's a movie called The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. So he's an oceanographer, and Bill Murray plays him. So in that movie, he wears a Vostok Amphibia. So it's a bit of a cult film with people who like Vostok Amphibia. Or Vostok watches in general. It's a Wes Anderson movie as well. So I don't know if you know who Wes Anderson is. He's like he's a pretty famous director. He's got all sorts of quirky sort of movies, and he's got his own style of how he does movies as well. Anyway, sidetrack. But I've seen people with sort of Steve Zissou T-shirts with the Amphibia, which I thought, hey, that's pretty cool actually, because I guess it's got the movie history and stuff like that. And even with like, I guess if you have an Indiana Jones with someone with the Hamilton watch on it or something, so I guess that's all right. Those are the kind of things that I can see parallels being drawn, or like you said, Supreme, like if it's like a Supreme and a watch collab, or I mean, people wear Nike shoes on their on their jumpers. I do it too. So, or Jordans on their. So what's the difference, you could say? But with their hats, maybe not.
I guess it goes deeper than we think now that we're talking about it, because it was not long that Rob from Perth here was in Red Bar was selling Patek ties, and they were beautiful looking. And I've got a wedding coming up in October. I did cross my mind. That's a cool piece to add to your suit, a bit of a talking point to someone who might know what they're looking at there.
Okay, I don't think there's a right or wrong, or if you wear this, you're this. If you don't wear this, you're this. I think it's just interesting. Again, wrapped up something interesting topic with that.
Yeah, for sure. No, that was a great one. That was good.
Cool. Oh, I mean, like I said, listeners, please, would love to hear if you got any more thoughts on that. So go ahead and pop some stuff in, or just shoot us a message as always via Instagram, or via Gmail. And it's just a nice way of interacting with us. So I think we've come to the end of our episode this week. And yes, we would love our listeners to please give us 5 stars in Spotify, and give us a follow as well. I think it really helps with the reach. It'll be fantastic. We'll hopefully also get it on other platforms as well, Justin.
Yeah, we are working on it. It's a slow process. I like to consider myself somewhat tech savvy, but we're getting there.
We're getting there. All right. Well, I guess if there's nothing more, we'll leave it at there, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Sounds good. Take care, mate.
Cheers.
Thank you for joining us on Overtime the podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode.
You can find us on our Instagrams at Overtime the podcast, at Kinda Average Watches, and at Horology Capture.
We appreciate your support and value your feedback. If you have any questions, suggestions, or topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes, please hit us up. We would love to hear from you.
Until next time.